like to call to order the Village Board meeting of April 17, 2014, to order at 7 o'clock p.m. May I have a roll call by Clerk Simsky?
Mayor Gunter.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington.
Here.
Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here. Like everybody else.
Trustee Seneca is absent tonight. Manager Searle.
Here.
Attorney Zemanek.
Here.
Assistant Manager May.
Here.
And what I'd like to do, and if we all can please rise for the pledge, but I'd like to ask Marty from the American Legion, since your birthday is on Flag Day, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Attention! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And welcome, everybody. I think Chief Mulhern has asked if anybody would like to, is not on the agenda and would like to speak during open forum. If you have not filled out a request, still an opportunity, just see Chief. I do have one request right now. It's from a Mary Beth Carlson, and she's come on up to the podium. You're 231 West Quincy, and to return a Illinois High School Association state champion sign to the roadside.
Yes. Bruce tells me I have 3 minutes. I'm going to try to do it. I don't know if I can do it. I moved here in 1990. I'm not from the western suburbs. I'm not from Westmont. What I would like to address is we have a small school. I'll cut this down. We have a very small school. Soon we're going to have this. Can I turn around a little bit? We're going to have the smallest high school in the smallest league in Illinois.
Then you can face them.
Oh, then just one.
Okay.
That doesn't count in my 3 minutes. Anyway, we have a small school in a small conference in the state of Illinois. I work with my daughter's a runner, and I work with the runners. I've worked with them for 2 years in Westmont High School. Our runners all of our athletes try their hardest. We have a state champion. We have a state champion, 2011, 3,200 meter state champion. And I don't know if you understand the dedication and hard work it takes to become a state champion. This kid is a friend of my older child. And he would run all the time, 10 degrees, 102 degrees. You're running, running, running. To have that kind of dedication, I think our community should stand behind him and put that sign up. He doesn't run for the sign. That's not what he runs for. He runs because that's what he loves. And now he's the best in the state. We've got a few more kids in that high school coming up. I'll tell you, it was a really bad winter. I was out chopping ice, trying to get the sidewalk free of ice. One of our kids was running past me 4 times. He lives on Ogden, somewhere near Ogden. I live out here. 4 times, it's 12 degrees. That kid's running, that's dedication. Another thing, I was telling somebody, and this will bring it home. I was telling somebody at work what I'm going to do today. I'm going to the village, talk about this. And he goes, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, this kid, I think we need to put him back up. I don't know why he was up for a while, and then they took the sign down. I don't know why.
Why don't you tell us who this kid is?
Henry Arndt.
Okay.
2011. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. And he goes, what town do you live in? And I said, well, I live in Westmont. He goes, oh, this is exactly why the sign should come up, and I'll tell you why. This kid, he's a security guard in where I work, and he lives in Westmont. He goes, oh, Westmont. Nobody gives a blank about that school. It's too small. They don't do anything right. You know, we're fighting that all around us. We got big schools. We got our kids going to the other schools out of our town. I'm just asking, you might have another state champion this year. I'm just really wondering why it was taken away. And beside that, can we put it back? I understand you explained to me that there's regulations about streets and highways and county roads and this and that and the other. But what you don't understand is what it would mean to us, to our little school, the little school that can run. I'm asking for this kid, and I have permission from the parent and the kid and Mr. Balderman. I'm asking, it's a simple thing. Can we support our own kid? Can we support our little high school and put his name back up?
And if you want to reason why I came down, I think you're probably preaching to the choir. We're totally behind the school district, always have been.
Why is it?
And I don't think Henry was the first state champ. I think a Bailey boy back won 2 times in one state. So there's other individuals in this town that have represented 201 before Henry. So I don't know what,
I don't
Ms.
know the
Carlson
Bailey
stopped in
boys.
earlier in the week, and it was, we were trying to remember, and I brought it up at staff meeting too, trying to get everybody else's thoughts on what led to that. And what we were talking about with the regulations with the different streets where that was a discussion about, well, gateway signage and using Ogden Avenue and the higher volume roads to do such. And we did have signs in, and then essentially they were, because of the reason of not being able to, quickly get up at other locations, we had them in the downtown. Now, I can't find anybody who remembers exactly how, the conversation went, but there was discussion about the location of the signs. It led to a conversation about, there's the Unit School 201, and then there's 2 other high schools that serve it too. So it was all about how to develop a policy to do, to address these as they come in, and how are we going to do it. And, now I'm thinking it was build it into gateway signs, things like that. Why it was removed, I don't know. I actually called the sign shop guy and asked him why, it was like, why did those, remind me, why'd those come down? And Jimmy said, because you told me to. So I don't even remember what the circumstances were, that led to that. But I know that was the conversation because it was affiliated with that school, it was installed at the school as opposed to, in town or the different locations. So it's an excellent discussion, and it's a bigger discussion, but,
isn't there?
How do we proceed from here?
Isn't there honorary at the school? Don't they have the street honorary? No?
Let me ask you this. If you were a state pole vault champion and you went to Jones High School and you lived in Jonesville, where would you want the sign? Would you want it at the high school where everybody knows you're the
No, I
state
didn't.
There
I
is,
just
well,
asked,
I'm not being sarcastic.
Is
Yes,
there one
is
up there?
Yes, there is one.
Yes, thank you.
But that's
So
really.
the school is honoring, I'm not debating, no, believe me, I'm
Yes,
not
the school
debating
is
it. I
proud
think you're
of it.
talking to probably the one person who's
Can we
very
put it
supportive of
back?
201.
Can
But
we
there are
put it
some
back?
issues, maybe there's a better place for it. Maybe
Yeah,
there
I mean,
needs to be
just
some rules and
somewhere.
regulations that we then adhere to for not only Henry, but maybe the Bailey, and maybe there's some state champions who live in Westmont that go to Hinsdale Central, and they also go to Downers.
But
That's still Westmont. I mean, that's the biggest problem. Half of our town, over half our town, does not go to 201.
And I don't know why that is either. That,
But
don't
it
start
is.
on that one. That's.
Half of our population goes to either
Yeah.
Hinsdale or Downers.
I do tell you that I travel a lot through central Illinois, and I always take I don't take the easy
do
way.
too.
And it's always so impressive to me to go through a town that I've never heard of and so small, and to think, how in the world did they get an 8A or a 2A, or a basketball championship or a badminton, whatever it would be. So personally, I like the idea. I see we have some obstacles. One idea that I just had randomly thought about is our new community signs. If those evolve and come about, is there a possibility of including, state champions along the sides of those, or as some type of, I know we've talked about a service wall as far as through Rotary and other groups where they would be recognized. So again, something to definitely consider, and we definitely would like to recognize all of our state champions.
And addressing your issue with somebody going to Hinsdale, that's their school. If they live in Westmont and they wouldn't be going to our school. If they live in Westmont and they go to Hinsdale Central, that's where the sign should go. Our high school is here in Westmont. It's not in Hinsdale.
And
Unfortunately, our children go there.
I
Okay, well, all right,
you got a good point, but the point is, there are residents, though. If they're state champion, even though they're a Westmont resident who's a state champion, no matter what school they went to. That's the only point I'm saying. We should honor all our athletes, no matter what school they go to.
How about when it comes up, then, so we figure out where that sign comes. Henry lives in this town, and he went to this.
No, we want to, I coached 15 years at Westmont High School, so my kids
So,
both
yeah.
went there. So I'm so totally supportive of it, but we got to keep remembering there's others that came
Will there be a
before.
culmination to this? Will we see,
I think we need to address it and come up with, I like the gateway concept, that we welcome to Westmont and honoring athletes that, in this community that have been achieved athletically in the state.
When this was first installed, just to describe it, the 201 boundary is 55th Street. So just this side of 55th Street, you know, coming over the hill is where that was first
Yeah.
installed because it was the school
That's where I saw it.
district. Right.
Was it that
So
wa-
it's coming into the downtown.
And then it disappeared. All right, well, you've heard it.
We want, well, we
I
love the
wanna see
idea.
those signs.
We love the idea.
Could we
Does it-
possibly put it on the agenda for Public Works? Would that be the place to look at it, possibly?
I think we need to address, this is a little bit more of an issue. Anytime this happens, where do we want to do this? Hopefully, we have 10 more state,
Yeah, right.
state
You might get
finishers.
another one this year, and if you do, that better go up.
I-
That's just,
But
that's
again,
it.
you see our dilemma. We better make sure we have a place that we can add
Yeah.
to.
Well, put it on 55th.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
In the smaller town that I grew up in, and many of you know where, you know, we've had a number of state champions, and what they've done is they've gone ahead and they put them up on the state highway signs. But what I've seen happen over time is as they get replaced, as the next state championship goes,
Well-
you know, they'll put a couple up, then there becomes a limit, and then they have to start to take them down. I mean, I guess that's a function of the success, but that's the way one community that I know of has dealt with it. A smaller community, and frankly, the high school is not that much bigger than Westmont High School.
We all know that Westmont High School is the smallest public school in DePage County. It's not getting any bigger. Totally aware of that, and I think we want to honor and recognize the school that carries our name.
Yes,
So I don't
please.
think we're 100% behind you, but we just have to look at it.
Well, let's get it on the agenda.
right.
Let's get it going.
But I agree with
Thank you.
trustee Berry, and I think we need to put it at a committee, not to drag it out, but to really look at it so it goes in the appropriate
Yeah.
spot.
I've seen them second place state champs. I'm like, what?
Ah.
You know, okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
And we thank you for shoveling your sidewalk. We appreciate that.
On that ice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else open forum? Because you'd like. If not, we'll move on to reports. Mayor report. And under my report on the agenda is Community Unit School District 201, Destination Imagination 2014 Team Recognition. What I'd like to do is invite Martha Walker to please come to the podium and explain to us about this program. And also, we've got some young individuals we'd like to recognize tonight, too.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mayor, board members, audience. Thank you for inviting our team. I'm Sadabu Palam. This is Martha Walker. We are both team managers for our Destination Imagination team. Thought we'll take this opportunity to talk to you about Destination Imagination and also to talk to you about the specific challenge that our team won in the regional competition. So Destination Imagination is a creative problem-solving competition, and it goes in the regional, state, and global levels. And the kids compete amongst their levels. Elementary school is one level, junior high is one level, and high school is one level. And they can have kids in teams from 2 up to 7 kids form a team. And the way the competition works is that they have 2 parts of the competition. One is what we call the main challenge, and one they call the instant challenge. So the kids work on the main challenge competition for a few months, almost in the beginning of school year, to when the first competition, regionals, is held. That is in about March of the year. And the main challenge focuses on different aspects. They can choose which main challenge they want. And the different groups that they can choose would be something like a scientific challenge, which can be based off of environmental principles, energy of wind, a challenge based off of that. It could be a structural challenge, and the structural challenge is basically to build a structure. It could be built out of wood, balsa wood usually, and also to see how much weight the structure can hold. And they also throw in other components over the years, such as giving a torque force. So can your structure have 2 different diameters, top and bottom? They throw in different kind of challenges at the kids every year, and it could be a technical challenge. Some of the examples of technical challenges are build a vehicle and then build different obstacles. The more complex your obstacle, the more points you get. And if your vehicle can go through these obstacles, you get points. So that's one more group of challenges. There's the improvisational challenge, which is you do practice some parts of the challenge at home, but for the most part, they give you something to do on the spot, and that we'll be talking a little bit more on, because that's the challenge that our kids participated in. There's also the Fine Arts Challenge, which is basically based off of theatrical performance and some of the other elements that they may put in. Or it could be Project Outreach, which is all based off of a community outreach project that the kids choose and compete in. Now, the other aspect to this challenge, all of these challenges, no matter what you do, there is a performance aspect to it in which the kids are supposed to create a play, and they have different kinds of specifications. So there is this technical as well as a performance aspect to it. So I think it helps our kids grow in terms of team building, in terms of learning different technical aspects, different structural aspects. So I think the kids grow and learn a lot through these challenges. And our team did well in regionals. They placed third, and they also got another award called the Da Vinci Award. And then they went to state. And my co-manager will now talk to you about our team challenge.
Hello, I'm Martha Walker. Our team Crabulous participated in the Improv Challenge, Pandemonium. The intent of this challenge is to create a unique improvisational skit based on a specific set of elements, including past-day characters and present-day characters selected at the tournament. The team receives a topic and must produce a skit to solve the pandemonium within 5 minutes right on the spot. The emperor from the past came through a time portal to the present, where a pet shop owner had just realized all their cats escaped. Anxious customers are waiting in the store and no cats to be found. The emperor, with the help of a mechanic, helped combat what could have been a catastrophic event. Our sixth graders team placed third in the region, which allowed them to represent our school in state. They also earned Destination Imagination's most prestigious award, the Da Vinci Award, for their unique time travel portal approach used in their skit and their creativity.
Very nice.
So the other part I completely forgot is something called Instant Challenge, which is a challenge they're thrown right there on the spot. A third of the points comes from that, 2/3 from the main challenge. So this Instant Challenge could be based off of building, it could be based off of acting, it could be based off of anything. So the total points is based off of both these components. So a lot of thinking on your feet skills is involved.
Improv.
Improv. Thank you.
What we'd like to do is recognize the individuals, and I'd like you to mention their names, and I've got a little certificate for them if you'd if you care to do that. And they can come up here and get them on TV.
All right, I'll get him. All right. Grace Notbush. Rose Armstrong. Anika Bupalam.
Your hand.
Stephanie Walker. Alana Morano. Nick Charlton. And Trevor Kapusta.
Yeah, please.
Let's try to get a little tighter here.
Let's get friendly. And it's always great for us to learn about programs that our children excel in. And again, congratulations. Continuing under the mayor's report, I'd like to call up Larry Forsberg, our Chamber Director, Economic Development Director, and he's asking for a special use for sound.
For amplified sound permit.
Amplified sound.
Good evening, Mayor, village board members. It's my pleasure to introduce Sean. Sean's the general manager at McGrath Acura. He took over as general manager last year when Ken Gerard retired. We know that he's doing a great job because McGrath Acura is the largest volume dealer in the Midwest, so congratulations on that. And also, McGrath Acura is one of the founding members of the Westmont Auto Mile, which is a huge support of our community events. They have a unique opportunity that just surfaced in the last 72 hours, and I'm going to let Sean talk to you a little bit about that.
Good evening, gentlemen. We, on Tuesday, got in contact with one of our customers who's on the board with the Operation Support Our Troops. And, a lot of people come to us for looking for donations, and we do try to give back every time we can, especially if it's a customer. If they support it, well, we want to support them as they've supported us. So what happened is through about a 10, 15-minute conversation with them, all of a sudden there was an opportunity that arose to actually have our dealership also be a venue for the kickoff for the ticket sales. And so what Operation Support Our Troop, their big function that they sponsor is the Rockin' for the Troops, which is an event that's put on in July. Where Gary Sinise's band, Lieutenant Dan Band, plays. And so anyways, for this kickoff event, for the ticket sales for the event in July, which is on May 1st, we're going to actually be having Gary Sinise himself come out here. And then also we're going to have Seventh Heaven is, I guess, a local band that's got a little bit of a following. And they're going to come out and play. And so we're trying to set up kind of an outdoor music festival, and then we're going to have some food there, and then we're going to, have some massive promotion going after selling tickets for this Operation Support Our Troops big event. So that's kind of it.
Any questions?
What time is this going to be at and for how long?
It's going to be on a Thursday afternoon from about 1 to 5. No, it's not looking to make too much of a ruckus. We are going to try to make sure that we are able to cap how many people come to an appropriate level. And I'll work with the appropriate people on finding out what that looks like. We're going to do that through a function of RSVPing on emails that we'll be sending out to the masses. We got a lot of masses.
What's the date of that show?
May 1st.
Parking?
Parking on my dealership, I'll be able to fit probably close to around 200 customer cars. We had discussed the possibility of teaming up with Ty Warner Park as some additional parking, and then we'll coordinate that with the appropriate officials that can help make sure it all stays very organized.
Nice. Any other questions from any of the audience?
Is there a residence that we have to notify?
I don't think there
Well,
was.
it's 1 to 5 also, so it's,
Well, right, that's the good part.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a great event. I don't see a problem with it.
We can get some press out of it, too.
And how?
Absolutely.
And since it wasn't on this agenda, it'll be on the next agenda for approval, which will be that night after the event, but I guess the consensus
Will be
is
the night of?
night of the event, so I don't,
Opportunity for them to come publicize it. It came up as.
yeah, last minute.
We're excited last minute, so we will put on that agenda for your
Yes,
approval.
yes, won't be a problem.
Okay, well, thanks for your attention.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you. What a great thing.
I'd like to call up Larry McIntyre, Community Relations, Public Relations Director.
Take a picture of them.
Take a picture of him, and Larry is going to just update the community on a couple events.
Absolutely. We have the upcoming Coffee with the Mayor events. We have a Coffee with the Mayor on April 26th, and that's going to be at Holy Trinity, entrance off of Linden, and that's 9 a.m. And so we invite all of the public to come to that. And then we will have our first after-hours event on Monday, May 5th. And since that's Cinco de Mayo, we're going to be at DJ's, and she's going to have, when I say she, I mean Tracy, who's the owner of DJ's. We'll have some Cinco de Mayo themed specials that night, and that's from 5 to 7. So it's our first evening event with Meet with the Mayor. And once again, these events are open to the entire public. We want to invite everyone to come out and just join in a dialogue discussing our community and how to make it even better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have one final thing. I'd like to call Police Chief Tom Mulhern up to talk about a program that the police department is sponsoring. I think it's next week.
Yes. That way. On Saturday, April 26th, from 10 till 2 at the Westmont Police Department ahead in our lobby, we are going to be accepting as partners with the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, any unused, unwanted medications. We unfortunately cannot take liquids, and we cannot take what are called needles or sticks, but we can take, if you have any unused medication, prescription drugs, anything like that that you would like to get rid of. And I've always, it's not the best way ecologically to be flushing them down the toilet or just throwing them out in the garbage. And it's definitely not advised to keep them in the house because you may have guests, you may have other people that actually, you've seen the ads on TV taking who's using your medication. And a lot of people are like, how do I get rid of these things? How do I do? So this is we'll probably do this every 6 months with DEA. There's a poster here. This is the box that we'll be using. Myself and Deputy Chief Brenzer will be in the lobby accepting your medication. It just can come in, no questions asked. You just drop it in the box, you leave. You don't have to provide any information. We'd just like to allow our residents a way to get rid of this unwanted medication so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
That's all I have for this evening. I'll go on to the Clerk Simsky.
I just want to remind everybody that Saturday is the Bunny Bites at the Park District and the Easter egg hunt. I think everything starts about 9:15, the Bunny Bites. And
Bunny Bites is pre-registration. At 10:30 is the Easter egg hunt by the Little League Field, Veterans Memorial Park.
Remind everybody to get out there. It's always a fun time for the kids. On Friday night, the Knights of Columbus will hold their final fish fry of the season on Good Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. So everybody stop in, have some fish, enjoy the nights. And the last thing I want to remind everybody is that the Westmont Rotary Club will hold their reverse raffle for scholarships for our local high school students, which includes all the school districts that we have kids in from Westmont. And that's next Wednesday, April 23rd. It starts at 6 o'clock, and it's a night of fun and good food, so come out and join us. You'll have a good time. And a very belated happy birthday to our wonderful attorney, Ziminick.
Thanks.
And since she wished you a happy birthday, you can have the floor next.
Go next. You know, I don't know if this has been discussed at any level. There's been a lot of press about the e-cigarettes lately and use by minors, and a lot of schools have started prohibiting that, and some towns have now started passing ordinances prohibiting the use of e-cigarettes by minors. The state hasn't done anything about it, so I just throw that out there in case any committee wants to discuss it. I probably want to start maybe with the police department, see if they have any interest in regulating it, see what the schools do. If the board has any interest in something like that.
Good point.
I'd like to mention DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, the Council of Government we belong to, started a new committee this year. It's made up of just village and city managers. And we had a meeting yesterday afternoon. This is actually a topic that came up that's going to be on our future agenda. And in going around the room and asking, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of people talking about it yet. So that committee meets on a monthly basis, and I'll certainly bring back information as we learn of what other communities may be doing.
Okay, that's all I had.
Do we have an executive session?
I took it away from him.
Yes, we're not having.
It's in his ball court.
Oh, it's in yours. Oh, I'll ask the manager on that. Okay, I thought usually I get it from you. Okay, we'll go to the managers.
Well, the first thing I was going to ask for was an executive session to discuss the purpose being to discuss the purchase of real property for the use of the village. So that was my first item. My second item is I wanted to of course, we have a great group here tonight that we want to honor. Post 338 Westmont American Legion. We talked about this at the last meeting. We approved a proclamation, but before I read that proclamation and several other documents that honor their extensive years of service, I just wanted to mention that last evening, again, talking about DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, we had a meeting and we had a very interesting speaker. It was Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, who is a veteran. And the reason I wanted to bring it up, and I think there were a couple interesting things she said, and as some of you may or may not know, she is a Democrat. But one of the first things she said to our group, and historically, DuPage County has been very heavily Republican. When she started in Congress and she was approached by other sophomore and older Congress folks, they said, now, where did your district come from? And she explained, with how the district was changed and how she's got like a big piece of former House Speaker Denny Haster's district, which has always been heavily Republican. And the question she was asked was, well, you have a lot of contact with your mayors in your community, in your communities. And she says, absolutely. And she says, well, they said, how do you get along with them when they're Republican? And her comment to them was, I don't know if they're Republican or they're Democrat. She says, I don't care. I'm here to try to come and develop solutions. And when I go and I talk to the member communities in my district, that's what we talk about, are problems and how can we, figure out problems. And she's been very supportive of a number of initiatives, and that's part of the reason she was at our meeting last night, that are going to be very strong economic development initiatives here for DuPage County. I also wanted to mention, again, I'm not trying to be political, and I'm certainly not, on her campaign to advertise for her reelection, but she did point out that she has not been afraid to take opposing stances to those in the other party. And part of the reason, and she said, frankly, she has never been yelled at as loudly as she has since she's been in Congress compared to her experience in the military. Because she took some opposing positions to her party because she thought they were the right decisions. And I won't mention who those individuals are. I think some people can probably guess. There's some pretty significant issues out there. One of them has to do with affordable medical care, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So I was very impressed with the comments that she had made to our group. And I just wanted to relate that to everybody, that she was an excellent speaker last night. If you don't know, she's an Iraq War veteran. She talked a lot about how she wants to make sure American military continues to be strong. And another point that really struck me was she never wants to see an American military person in a vehicle, whether it's an airplane, a helicopter, a tank, that's not made in the United States of America. And she felt, very strongly about that. So, and I just wanted to mention that partially because of the audience here this evening, but I thought that was very interesting on her part, and she was a very interesting speaker last night. Tonight, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we honored the Westmont American Legion Post 338 for their 90th anniversary recognition, and we have a proclamation I'm going to read. I also have here a Senate recognition from the U.S. Senate, I'm sorry, the Illinois Senate and the Illinois House of Representatives. Our proclamation, which was Proclamation 57, says, whereas the American Legion was chartered and incorporated by Congress in 1919 as a patriotic veterans organization devoted to mutual helpfulness, whereas the American Legion is the nation's largest wartime veterans service organization committed to mentoring young youth and sponsorship of wholesome programs in our communities, whereas the American Legion is also the nation's largest wartime veterans service organization advocating patriotism and honor, promoting strong national security, and continued devotion in our fellow service members and veterans, and whereas hundreds of local American Legion programs and activities strengthen the nation one community at a time, whereas American Legion's Heroes to Hometowns program connects local Legionnaires with recovering wounded warriors and their families, providing a variety of support activities, whereas the American Legion raises millions of dollars in donations at the local, state, and national levels to help veterans and their families and to provide college scholarship opportunities. And whereas American Legion's sense of obligation to the community, state, and nation drive an honest advocacy for veterans in Washington. And whereas the American Legion's success depends entirely on active membership, participation, and volunteerism, the organization belongs to the people that it serves and the community in which it serves. And whereas the American Legion Post number 338 was chartered on April 16th, 1924, and whereas the Westmont American Legion Post 338 acquired land upon which the Westmont Community Center, Memorial Park, and the Westmont Park District Administration Office and the Gregg House Museum are currently located, and now therefore I, Ronald J. Gunther, Mayor of the Village of Westmont, on behalf of the Village Board and our residents, do hereby honor and congratulate the Westmont American Legion Post number 338 for its outstanding 90 years of service to our community and the veteran community at large. That was our local resolution. The Senate passed this, which says, the Illinois Senate of the 98th General Assembly of the State of Illinois acknowledges Westmont American Legion Post 338 in recognition of its 90th anniversary celebrating 9 decades of service, 1924 to 2014, and extends its congratulations and best wishes on this momentous occasion and further commends its members for their continued commitment to serving veterans and their families, offered by Senator Kirk Dillard, and then it's signed by Senate President John Cullerton and the Secretary of the Senate, Tim Anderson. And then finally from the House of Representatives, we have a resolution that says, and this was offered by Representative Patty Bellock, whereas the members of the Illinois House of Representatives wish to congratulate the members of the American Legion Post 338 on the occasion of the organization's 90th anniversary on April 16th, 2014, and whereas the American Legion Post 338 was chartered on April 16th, 1924, and whereas the American Legion Post 338 is involved with numerous activities and groups throughout Westmont area, including Boy Scout troop activities, Little League baseball teams, the Memorial Day Parade, the flag ceremony, Taste of Westmont, the Red, White, and Barbecue Memorial Day event, the Veterans Day ceremony at Ty Warner Park, various Westmont Chamber of Commerce events, and the Westmont 9/11 ceremony. And whereas the American Legion Post 338 members routinely assist veterans with transportation to Hines Veterans Administration Hospital and other medical facilities, the Post also sponsors the American Legion School Award Program, which honors select students under patriotism and citizenship at Cass Junior High School and Eisenhower Junior High School in Darien, and Westmont Hills Middle School and Westmont Junior High School in Westmont. The Post also supports students at the Westmont Senior High School through its scholarship programs, and whereas the members of the American Legion Post 338 serves as models of hard work, integrity, and dedication for the people of the state of Illinois, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 98th General Assembly of the state of Illinois that we congratulate members of the American Legion Post 338 on the occasion of the organization's 90th anniversary and wish them continued success and happiness in the future, and be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to the Legion Post 338 as a symbol of esteem and respect. And this is signed by Speaker of the House Michael Madigan, and it was adopted by the House on April 4th, 2014, and also signed by the clerk, Timothy Mapes. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and it's more on a personal level, and I mentioned this to former Fire Chief Frank Trout, on a personal level, I want to say thank you to the American Legion. I was actually a participant in a program that I don't think gets a lot of publicity called the American Legion Boys State. And I did that in high school, and we have another graduate over here. And I have to say that did provide some influence in my decision to eventually go into public service and government. So I'd like to take this opportunity and say thank you and recognize their 90 years.
I'd like to present this to you, but one thing I'd like to do is stand up and at least applaud you.
The involvement this year with the veterans with the barbecue.
Frank, does anybody want to say anything?
Thank you for your service.
Somebody else? No.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
I was back in the day.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for service.
Yeah, thank you.
That's okay, I'm
That's
fine.
right. Thank you for your service. Thanks, Mark. Mark.
Knock them over.
Got a good
Very much.
Take care of it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. I thought Frank Chop was.
Sir.
He's the oldest one.
Thank you. You guys want to?
Thank you for your service, Marty.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Congrats.
You doing, sir? Thank you for your service. No, whatever he says is fine with me. I know he does. Thank you for your service.
What do you want? Yeah, come on.
Stumbling.
Oh, it's big time.
Frustrated.
You all have to go out?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here. Don't worry about my dress.
We'd like to get a picture of everybody. Come up here.
All the ones that
With
are
the
just
entire
come
board.
out.
Come up here. Ron, you want to, anybody, clerk, Jenny, I mean.
Come on, Ron.
You're
good.
Block off all these good-looking men here. We got a couple more.
I think we're missing someone. I thought I heard Tarzan.
These are, again, as long as we get everybody.
Let's see here, I'm gonna have, Jim, can I have you over here on the side where I saw right? And, make sure I see everyone. We're getting close?
Feel better?
All right.
Yeah, 10-0.
Ready? Here we go. I'm gonna do a couple of these. And then I'll do one more after you.
Marty, were you a charter member?
Ready? Here we go.
That's nice, Bill.
1919.
I got it. Thank you.
What I'd like to do is ask the commander if you'd like to say a few words.
You know, it'll all be a few.
Thank God.
He's good.
First of all, we'd like to thank the village board and along with Patty Bellock and Kurt Dillard for the presentations tonight that they gave us. And a special thanks to Ron Searle, who put all this together and who did a lot of lead work on the proclamation. Special thanks to Ron. And yes, we're here to support the community, been doing it for 90 years now. And we do have a couple of events coming up, the Red, White, and Barbecue, and which we will be there supporting as we've done now over the last 2 years. And so we encourage, everyone from Westmont, of course, to come out and local towns. And I'd like to thank the American or the Lions Club for the support they have given us over the years. And it's just good to know we can all still work as a team, and that's what Westmont's all about. And just want to thank you again for tonight.
Yeah, congratulations.
Before we move on, can I announce that there will be brush pickup on the south side starting next Monday? So have your brush out there. Put it out Sunday night.
And that's the south side of the tracks.
Right.
Okay. Manager Searle, is there anything else you have?
That is it, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the trustees. Trustee Barry.
Nothing to report this evening.
Trustee Addington.
Yes. One thing, just remind everybody, to kind of bring everybody up to date, the Red, White, and Barbecue is May 23rd, 24th, and 25th, so we're a little more than a month away. Last year, we had about 120 teams participate between amateurs and pros. This year, it looks like, because we're doing a double contest on what we call the pro side, we'll actually have closer to 100 teams cooking on that side, and again, about 50 amateurs. So going to be a heck of an event. We hope everyone will come out. A couple of things that are new this year. We had approached the Rotary Club and asked them to work with us also as the other service organization in town, and hopefully we'll get them as even bigger partners in the years to come. And one new thing this year that I think we'll get a lot more information out to everyone on, but between Friday night, all day Saturday, and on Sunday, there's going to be 3 or 4 people who are going to put on cooking demonstrations, running anywhere from how to trim your meat, how to cook your meat, the rubs, the sauces, all the different things that go into cooking in your backyard. And there'll be some more information on that, but I think somewhere around 10 or 12 different cooking demonstrations that'll be going on during the time of the event. No TV this year. Everybody remembers last year we had the Pitmasters TV show. They don't like to come back to the same place 2 years in a row. We might get them back in the future, we hope, but again, going to be another extremely successful event. We're really pleased with the turnout, again, with the number of teams and everything else. So keep that marked on your calendar. That's Memorial Day weekend, and we end it on Sunday night so that we don't infringe on the activities that take place on Monday with the Memorial Day parade and the dedications, the other things that we do that day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we hope you'll all come out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it.
Thank you. And just to add to that the parade is Memorial Day step off at 10:30. Cass and Naperville proceeds south to Veterans Memorial Park, where there will be a program that will be hosted by the American Legion. So, Trustee Scott.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the clerk for inviting the board last week to the seminar for the Municipal Clerks Conference that was held at Oak Brook Hills. We got a chance to meet some of the clerks from around the state, and it was very well attended and an outstanding organization. So thanks, Jenny, for inviting us.
Well, thank you for coming.
Last night, I was able to attend the Westmont High School and National Honor Society induction, which there was a whole lot of kids that were inducted into it, and it was amazing to see the amount of children that were there, young men and women, who have just excelled at that high school. And so there was a nice ceremony there last night, and congratulations to all of them. And this morning I was at Westmont Middle School, and they're going to be having their version of the Shark Tank. And so there were some businessmen and ladies that were invited to do preliminary interviews to try to get the kids ready for it, and listen to their ideas and their businesses, and to give them suggestions and critique it. So, and another first for them. And it was just another outstanding way that the Westmont schools are trying to get these kids prepared for adulthood. And some of these ideas these kids had were just phenomenal for junior high. It was really good. So congratulations to them also, and that's it for me.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
And that's another good example of being the smallest public school in DuPage County, how talented our kids are at that school. Trustee Barker.
Thanks. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Easter. That it's coming up Sunday. And also, I would like to say that Westmont first met last night. We had another good meeting, and I would invite anybody that sees this broadcast on YouTube or on television to take a look at the village website and sign up for Westmont First.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Nero.
Thank you. Just one quick thing. I just want to give everybody a heads up to look for our rain barrel promo again. Going to be coming out with that here real shortly. So keep your eyes peeled. You should see it soon. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the Assistant Village Manager, Public Works Director?
Nothing else.
Very good. We'll move on. Agenda item 6, items to be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any board members requesting that any of these items be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Manager Searle, would you please read?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to note, as we discussed last budget hearing, there are some purchase orders that typically would be under consent agenda that we have already removed and put after the adoption of the budget, so we'll get to those later. But currently under consent agenda, we have the March financial report. The board would consider a motion to accept the financial report submitted for the month of March 2014. We have village board meeting minutes for April 3rd, 2014. Village board meeting minutes held April 2nd, 2014, and April 5th, 2014. We have the finance ordinance in the amount of $1,589,432.97. And the purchase orders that we do have from this current fiscal year that we are in include PO 11033355 to KLF Enterprises in the amount of $14,500. This has to do with something we actually talked about earlier tonight at a committee meeting regarding 30 South Hudson. We have purchase order 11033316 to Don Morris Architects in the amount of $10,067.35. And we have purchase order 11033318 to a vendor called Annixter. It's ANIXTER, Chicago, $8,000, $747.66. This has to do, I believe, with a grant program that we applied to and got monies for expansion of some of our cable video services. Next, we have purchase order 11033262 to Mid-American Water Incorporated in the amount of $10,377.50 for hydrant repair parts. And the total number of purchase orders for this fiscal year is $43,692.51. The total with the finance ordinance is $1,633,125.48. And then we have the following proclamations, which I will go ahead and read in the order that they appear on the agenda. The first one is for National Public Works Week for the week of May 18th through the 24th, whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, and solid waste collections, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. I, Ronald Gunther, Mayor of the Village of Westmont, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th as National Public Works Week in the Village of Westmont, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations in Westmont to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. The next one we have is for Municipal Clerks Week, which is May 4th through the 10th. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local government and exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of governments at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations, whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Ronald R. Gunther, Mayor of the Village of Westmont, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 10th as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our village clerk, Virginia Simsky, and to all the municipal clerks for the vital services that they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities that they represent. The next one we have is the DuPage County River Sweep Proclamation. Whereas the County of DuPage, through Stormwater Management Division and municipalities, townships, and park districts, recognize ongoing stream cleaning and restoration as essential to preserve the waterways of DuPage County and northeastern Illinois, and whereas the DuPage County River Sweep is a countywide stream cleanup and restoration event organized by the Conservation Foundation and held in cooperation with the American Rivers National River Cleanup, and whereas the purpose of the river sweep is to encourage citizens and volunteer groups to sweep our rivers clean by picking up debris in and along our waterways and by participating in stream restoration projects, and whereas the stream cleaning efforts have been very successful, with more than 9,500 volunteers removing more than 230 tons of solid waste from DuPage County streams since 1991, and whereas the mayor and board of trustees of the Village of Westmont congratulate the Conservation Foundation on 23 successful years for this event, now therefore be it proclaimed that all the residents of the Village of Westmont are encouraged to make a difference in the quality of water in the area, and are further urged to support and participate in River Sweep 2014 on Saturday, May 17th, 2014. And finally, the last proclamation I have is to recognize Autism Awareness Month, which is April. Whereas autism is a complex neurological disease and developmental disability that robs children of social skills, the ability to talk, interact, and do the normal things that are often taken for granted, transcending all social, cultural, and geographic boundaries. And whereas the CDC recently announced another alarming increase in autism affecting 1 in every 68 children born today, and affects boys nearly 5 times the level of girls, it has been diagnosed at a higher rate than pediatric AIDS, juvenile diabetes, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and all pediatric cancers combined, and is considered to be our country's #1 medical condition afflicting children today, and is considered among the fastest growing global public health crisis. 30% increase since 2008, a 78% increase from 2002. And whereas autism is treatable through early diagnosis, early intervention, including critical, intensive, medically necessary therapies such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA therapy, RDI, floor time, and other behavioral therapies combined with medical interventions, which have proven to be extremely effective, often unlocking the world of autism to enable these beautiful children the ability to communicate and interact with the ultimate goal of an independent and fulfilling productive life. And whereas the month of April is World Autism Month, and the global autism community will celebrate the 7th annual United Nations sanctioned World Autism Awareness Campaign, a campaign to raise awareness. World Autism Awareness Day, celebrated April 2nd annually, was adopted by the United Nations in 2007 to shine a bright light on autism as a growing global health crisis. Activities increase and develop world knowledge of the autism crisis and impart information regarding the importance of early diagnosis and early intervention. Additionally, information regarding the importance of early diagnosis, additionally, celebrates the unique talents and skills of persons with autism and is a day when individuals with autism are warmly welcomed and embraced in community events around the globe. Autism is one of the only 3 health issues to be recognized by the United Nations with its own day. Now therefore, I, Ronald J. Gunther, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the Village of Westmont, do hereby announce and proclaim to all citizens and set seal hereto that April 20, 2014 is Autism Awareness Month in Westmont, Illinois, to promote awareness and early detection of autism, and ask residents to recognize April as World Autism Awareness Month. And those are the proclamations that we have on the consent agenda. We also, on the consent agenda, have a community event, which is the 2014 Prostate Cancer Foundation 5K run, 3K walk. And given that there are no changes from last year, this is also on the consent agenda. That concludes.
That concludes it. Do I have an ordinance to, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve. Addington.
Second, Scott.
Motion's been made and second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
I have to ask Manager Searle, what's your middle initial? Is it R?
Yes?
Okay.
Why?
I was Ronald R. Gunter and Ronald J., so I think I'm one of those.
What?
Yeah, I'm one of those. I think it's the
because
two Ron's middle initial.
It's because I wrote it.
Oh, that's probably why. But we'll change that. We'll change that. That's a minor detail, but I
I would
was
say
curious.
Ron Gunther on one.
Okay. But unfinished business, there.
I am willing to change my mind. I remember my name.
No, don't, keep it,
will.
no. You want it to be.
I have no problem with doing that.
There's commitment.
We'll move on to new business, the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget. Board to consider a resolution to adopt the 2014-2015 budget. Manager Searle.
I'm lost. Sorry. All right, coming to the podium, we have our Finance Director, Spencer Parker. We've been through a series of budget workshops involving the board and public. One of the things we did differently this year was we tried to set some expectations early on in the process by involving the board in talking about some of their expectations. So it's a little bit different change than what we've done in the past several years. We feel that it's been beneficial to staff to help guide our priorities. I'd also like to mention that over the course of the workshops in the last, I would say at least 6 or 7 years, we probably had the most number of members of the public attend the workshops. And I found that personally very gratifying because that's not often the case. And I think we got some good comments and feedback from those folks. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Spencer Parker, who's going to make the budget presentation.
Right, I'm just going to go through a brief, kind of very high-level view. As the board's aware, we've spent a lot of hours discussing this already. As you can see from the screen, the budget process is an extensive process. It starts off with identifying what we're going to be looking at. We had an early budget workshop this year, as Manager Searle mentioned. We worked on preparing the draft budget, and then we had a series of 3 budget workshops And so we've probably gone through about 12 to 15 hours worth of discussion on this budget already. And so my hope is to condense each of those hours down to about 30 to 45 seconds in this presentation here. So this will be a very high-level view. If there's additional information that we want to bring to the attention of the public, feel free to add in or make any additional questions or comments. So I wanted to start off with just a very brief overview of funds. We've got a lot of different funds here at the Village of Westmont. We have our operating funds, which are kind of where you basically have the money coming in, the money going out, and they should be pretty close to the same amount. They kind of all work together. We've got our general fund, which covers most of our operating departments. We've got our employee benefit sick time fund, which is basically just there for accounting purposes. We have our emergency reserves fund. We've got our downtown parking fund, our debt service fund, our convention tourism fund, our IMRF social security fund. And then on the capital side, we've got our capital project side, vehicle replacement, motor fuel tax, and bonds. And those are funds where we set aside money each year and then we spend large amounts, kind of like you would with a savings account. If you set aside money to purchase a new car or an appliance, you'd then spend a lot of money on the month that you actually buy it. So the general fund, we're looking at a net of zero, so our revenues and expenditures match each other exactly. We do have some one-time revenues that are coming in, and we're planning to make sure we use those only for one-time expenditures. There's about $534,000 of that, so several of the items we're going to talk about are one-time expenditures, and we're being sure that we're not taking one-time revenues and using them for ongoing programs. The estimated fund balance at the end of this next fiscal year, so fiscal year 14-15, we expect to have about $6 million in our general fund. Looking briefly at our revenues, you can see that we've got about $8 million coming in through sales tax, use tax, and places for eating tax. We've got about $4.8 million coming in through other taxes, about $1 million from other general administration sources. We've got about $3.2 million coming in from fire, including ambulance fees as well as property taxes. We've got about $500,000 in building development permit items, about $500,000 from police, about $1.3 million in public works items as well, which includes garbage collection, and then about $2.7 million in the pass-throughs, transfers, and one-time revenues. For our expenditures, we've got about $3.6 million in the general administration, $54,000 in commissions, $6.4 million in police, $4.4 million in fire, $4.3 million in public works, about $3.2 million in our pass-throughs and transfers, and about $210,000 for village-wide increases. So now I'm going to go over some of the highlights of the general fund, some of the items that may be of particular interest to residents or businesses. One of the items that received high priority this year was the tree removal and planting. We're looking at planting over 400 trees and removing about 200 trees that have been damaged through the Emerald Ash Borer incidents. We're also looking at increasing some of our part-time hours to be able to provide some improved service to our residents and businesses. We're potentially looking at doing that in clerks, municipal services, and the Fire Prevention Bureau. With regards to community outreach, we are setting aside some funding for Westmont First. A portion of that will come from the general fund and a portion from convention tourism. We also have our Go Local app that is being included. And then we were looking at some maintenance things that have been pushed off as the economy had some, as we had a difficult economy the last few years, we've been postponing some maintenance. We're able to get some of that back in. So that would include maintenance for parking lots, power washing, general upkeep of facilities, and ADA compliance issues. With regards to our water fund, we've got a revenues of about $7 million, expenses of about $8 million, so a net deficit of about $893,000. You'll notice the vast majority of that is from carryovers from prior years. So as I mentioned, kind of one of our capital funds, we have projects that we budget for and plan to do, and then we end up finishing them off in the subsequent year, and that's what we're looking at. We expect to have an ending balance of about $1.4 million at the water fund. And some of the things we're doing in there is continuing the meter replacement program, the rain barrel program subsidy, which is something that Trustee Nero mentioned a little bit earlier, and then a water main on Cumner and West End. In our convention tourism, we expect revenues this year of about almost $393,000, expenses of about $578,000, for a net deficit of $185,000. We expect, even after that deficit, to still have a balance of about $304,000 in that fund. Some of the highlights that are going on in there is we use this fund to upkeep the Westmont Center. We've got some items set aside for special events, including a Westmont Auto Mile, accounting for some of the employees' times as they participate in special events, and then providing some money to be able to assist with other special events requests as they come up. We've got some items for community marketing, including electronic sign that we're working with different entities to work on. I think that was also mentioned earlier today. And then working with Westmont First. We also use this for community beautification, so the holidays decorations downtown, as well as the hanging baskets of flowers downtown. Our vehicle replacement program, this year we're bringing in about $823,000, and that's a transfer from the general fund. We set aside money each year to be able to put the money away so that when we do need to use it to purchase a vehicle, we're able to purchase that vehicle. So as the board's aware, and the public is probably aware, we have a lot of pieces of equipment that are very costly, and so rather than spending $1 million on a new ladder truck, without having set aside the money, we're working to set aside the money initially so we have the money to spend. So this year you'll see we have a net deficit. In other years you'll see we've had surpluses. Next year we expect to have another surplus, but our estimated ending balance this year is $1.3 million. And the vehicle replacement highlights, we're looking at replacing some patrol squads, fire SUV, and 2 ambulances. There were a couple of other vehicles that were, according to our replacement schedule, were up for replacement this year. We're looking at actually postponing them to actually purchase them until next fiscal year. That would include a fire Quint as well as a police non-squad vehicle. The capital projects summary, we have a net deficit of about $111,000. We've got carryovers from prior years of about $277,000 and expect to end the year with a balance of about $885,000. You can see there's quite a few projects we're working on there, including the 35th Street Oakwood Drain Line, our annual sidewalk project, in-pavement crosswalk lighting, Cumner, what we've been calling the green infrastructure construction. So you'll see in the motor fuel tax, we're budgeting to cover the road reconstruction of Cumner. The capital projects has the additional amount to be able to try to do that in a way that will help take care of some stormwater needs at the same time through green stormwater methods. We've also got our Central Business District Alley reconstruction, Eagle Creek Stream Bank Stabilization Project, and the 61st Street and Cumner Pond Beautification Project. With the motor fuel tax fund, we've got a net deficit this year of about $1.6 million. And you can see our carryovers from the prior year about $1.8 million. So again, this is one where we budget for the funds each year. A lot of these are projects that we are working on in conjunction with the state and kind of waiting for the state to bill us. We want to make sure we don't overextend our balances. And as you can see, our estimated ending balance is about $308,000 if everything were to be done this year. We're looking at Pasquinelli Drive, Cass Avenue mid-block pedestrian crossing, the CMAC sidewalk project, the design for Wilmette reconstruction, and then the Cumner reconstruction that I mentioned previously. We also have our bond funds. We've got spring and fall road resurfacing. We're budgeting $2.9 million for those projects. And then we've got some stormwater items, including the green infrastructure feasibility study. As I mentioned, the Cumner Green Stormwater Construction is coming out of the Capital Projects Fund, but I wanted to highlight it. That's one of the things that we've been talking about through the Stormwater Committee and then at the board level about looking at adopting this green infrastructure to improve stormwater items. And then also we're looking at setting aside some money for low depressional areas from our bond fund. We expect to have about $5.7 million left in our bond funds. On the topic of bond funds, we also have to look at the repayment of those bonds. We've got about $280,000 in principal, almost $460,000 in interest that we're going to be paying this year, and we're getting those funds from the general fund, the Places for Reading. As you'll recall, we adopted an increased amount for Places for Reading this past year, and we're putting that money aside to help provide for this bond to cover the street resurfacing that we talked about. We've also got money coming from capital projects and then the motor fuel tax fund. We have a couple of other funds, as I mentioned, that are kind of, I guess, not really a lot of information that's extremely relevant to the public. We've got our employee benefit sick time, as I mentioned, that's for accounting purposes. We've got our downtown parking fund, in which we only have about $10,000 currently, so we're not planning on any downtown parking projects with that money. We've got our reserves fund of $949,000, and we've got our IMRF and Social Security fund of about $1.8 million. So altogether, we've got revenues of about $35 million, expenses of about almost $44 million, for a net deficit of about $8 million. And as I mentioned previously, through all the different funds, you'll see that a large portion of that deficit are actually items that were budgeted the prior year and are just carry forwards. So we expect to end the year with a balance of about $19.6 million. So I know that was a very quick overview for members of the public that are watching. There are, as I mentioned, 3 previous budget workshops, I guess actually 4 previous budget workshops that are available through the village's YouTube channel that you're welcome to peruse it, at your leisure and get a lot more detailed information. But that's a very high-level view. Any other comments, questions at this point?
Can I entertain a motion to pass the resolution?
So move, Scott.
Second, Nero.
Motion made and seconded. Questions? Anybody from the audience? Board, any additional questions from the board?
Just thanks to Spencer and his staff down there for making it easy for us to understand.
Thank you, Spencer, for all your work on it.
Thank you. I think the entire
And your
staff
staff.
prepared all departments prepared a very easy and understandable budget for us. So again, thank you.
I'd like to mention one thing that came up at our department head staff meeting this week, and it was a big thank you from all the department heads to Spencer, because this gentleman is recognized as knowing each of their department's budgets as well, if not better, than they do. And when it came to questions that came up at our workshops, if a department didn't have it right away, and of course sometimes you don't always have the answer right there. He's so well organized. He was able to look that information up and provide that information. And I want to say thank you too.
He's learned.
It's amazing his recall and the way he's organized to be able to provide this information.
It's like we don't need any department heads with you.
No, we still collect and spend the money properly, but yeah, Spencer's got his arms around the dollar.
All
right.
Thanks for keeping an eye on it.
Let's not go there.
No. All right, there's been a resolution, no further questions, roll call. Please.
I have a question.
All right. Wow.
I'm still struggling a little bit, and it's more philosophical than it is anything else. I truly believe in my mind, and I've talked about this during the whole process, that with going to the SUVs with the police department is the right thing to do. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it gives our officers a better vehicle to use. But I'm really struggling with the fact that I think we could cut those vehicles down to a replacement of 3 a year instead of 4 a year. And I would much rather do that now than later. I know in the presentations that the chief has made, and the money's already set aside in the in the vehicle replacement fund. That's not the question. But I really think that these SUVs are going to do a much better job for this community. They're going to last longer. They're going to take less maintenance and everything else. And I would just as soon cut one out of the budget now and do 3 a year instead of 4. That's just me. But I wanted to make a statement on that. I'm probably not going to vote for this budget for that reason. Has nothing to do with anything else that's in there. It's just my personal opinion. And I'd rather save the money now than later. And again, that's just me, so.
As an option, could we agree to postpone the replacement cycle a year and leave the number in the budget with the understanding that, as we talked about at the budget workshop, once we see these vehicles in operation for a couple of years, we'll have a better handle?
You vote on the
I'm just throwing it out as an idea.
budget is a guide, and I'm going to recommend that you vote.
Yes. Comment, thought?
I think that would be a fine option. I think, as I mentioned previously, if it is the board's desire or interest to go back from the 4 vehicles to 3 vehicles, I would recommend that we not change the amount we're setting aside from the general fund until we see over the next several years how well that works, just so that the board then easily has the option to go back to providing the 4 vehicles per year if that ends up being what we decide we want to do. But we can certainly change to say we're only going to replace 3 this year and then see what happens next year if we want to do that. If that's the board's direction, we could certainly make that change in the budget. Or as the manager suggested, if the board's preference is to say, we want to postpone and not purchase any this year, we could do that, or we could
Oh, no, I
purchase
want to
the
go
3 years.
forward with at
Well,
least the 3. There's no question in my mind about
We've,
that.
I do have to, we've kind of went through this several times in budget workshop and reminded that this is a budget is like a guide for us, and it's during the course of the year, we'll have opportunities before those particular items are approved to address that. So I don't know necessarily if tonight, and I'll ask the attorney, but I think we're approving the budget.
The budget is a guide that's used for the appropriations ordinance, which is coming up, but certainly a trustee also has the right to say, I don't like the budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think that that's been expressed in the workshops. So again, because of time and everything else, I think if the workshops show where we stand on issues and whether we were for the budget as it was progressing along, so.
I guess my
And the
point
actual
is.
purchase will occur at a board meeting, too.
At a board meeting, this board will approve those 3 or 4 vehicles. We'll have an opportunity at that point to address it.
Again, I think the workshops speak for themselves. You know, myself personally, I didn't have just 1 or 2 issues. I had several along the way, from insurance to vehicles to different improvements along the way. So again, you know, I won't be voting for this budget this evening, but more so than just one reason. And I think that those workshops express my feelings on it, so.
But this also gives you an opportunity. Once this gets passed, doesn't mean we have to follow it to that extent. This is flexible, the money is there, but you can sit there and go with your cause to sit there, to get us to, I don't want to say change our mind, but to fight your cause and to see what's happening. I'd hate to sit there and just say, we're going to go to 3 cars and then find out that down the way, that just wasn't the way it was. I'd rather just sit there and have the money in the budget and not do it. I'm not quite so sure that you can't make that fight.
Yeah, just overall, to explain to residents that didn't see it, I was just hoping that more, instead of individual police and fire issues where maybe only 1/3 of the residents get to benefit from those costs, I would have rather seen money spent on things that all residents would get a benefit of. And that's was my stance, as we all know. We beat that drum, so thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
No.
Trustee Addington.
No.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes. New business B, total purchase orders for fiscal year 2014, 2015, $58,154.21. Manager, sir.
Okay, the following purchase orders, which are simply encumbrances, they're not paid for until they appear on the finance ordinance. These are for the upcoming fiscal year. First one is purchase order 110-33324, the Kendall Hill Nursery in the amount of $6,783.21. That's for tree planting services. Purchase order 110-33326 to the West Central Municipal Conference in the amount of $10,759. That is for tree planting of 51 trees. The next one is purchase order 110-33352 to Baxter and Woodman for $7,200. And that is for the legislative, or the legally required annual report called the Water Consumer Confidence Report. Next, we have purchase order 110-333-365, SHI International Corporation, in the amount of $6,272. And that is for IT desktop, laptop, and tablet replacements. The next one is purchase order 110-33368, Baxter and Woodman, $14,140. This is for the Blackhawk Drive water main extension. Then we have purchase order 110-33374 to Midwest Ecological Services, $13,000. And this is for vegetation work for the 61st Street Basin, involving plantings as well. And finally, in the category of purchase orders for the new fiscal year, not reading this right, am I missing? I'm sorry, that is all of them. I was looking for a total here. Do not have a total for the new fiscal, or for the new purchase orders for the new fiscal year.
They were up in the top.
Yeah, the total for the new purchase orders for the new fiscal year is $58,154.21. And then combined with the other economic things that we've approved in the finance ordinance and the prior purchase orders, it's a total of
Oh, yes.
$1,691,279.69.
Thank you.
He had that memorized.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second.
Motion been
Nero.
made, seconded. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
New business C, massage license, nail salon. Board to consider an ordinance to increase the number of massage establishment licensed by one, and to approve a massage establishment license for Nail Cafe Incorporated, located at 125 West Ogden Avenue. Manager, sir.
In late 2011, the nail salon located at 125 West Ogden Avenue applied for a massage establishment license, which was continued pending completion of a civil legal action by the applicant involving ownership at that time, and it has been resolved. The board is asked to determine if the number of available massage establishment licenses should be increased from 6 to 7 to allow for an issuance of a massage establishment license to Nail Cafe Incorporated. The nail salon has been an established business in Westmont at various locations for over 10 years. The candidate and businesses passed background investigations, and both the chief and I have provided our recommendations, which are favorable, and they were sent out via email, I believe, earlier, and I think you received a copy at your desk. The chief is here with the
I
applicant.
have Chief Mulhern's here with the petitioner.
Good evening, Mayor and Village Board. I'm pleased to introduce to you Min Cha Kim. She's the owner of the Nail Cafe. Name of the business up there on Ogden at 125 West Ogden Avenue is the nail salon. It's in a very small strip mall where Jimmy John's is located, where the old where the old Dairy Queen was located, and it also houses a jewelry store as well. It's just located just east of Washington Street on the south side of Ogden Avenue. Ms. Kim applied for a license, as was explained 3 years ago, and however, she had a partner, and they were having a civil dispute. She has since, as of late of 2013, rectified that issue, and she is now the sole owner of the business. She would like to provide she'd like to provide massage establishment or massage services to assist her business. And I'll let her explain a little bit more, but with the economy, when the economy took a downturn, she's been suffering. And she would feel that the massage establishment or the massage license would help her support her business. In talking to her this week, she had a location here on Quincy Street, right next to
No, I have a business into the 5 East Ogden in the New Walgreen. So I have to move out because Walgreen to the New Walgreen have to move.
at 63rd and Cass.
So I have to move
Yeah.
out.
But you were also on Quincy Street, right over here
Yes,
by the news
yes,
agency.
yes.
She's been in Westmont business for over 10 years. And talking to her, she also said, and I'll let her explain a little bit more, but that some of her customers, other people have told her she should move out of Westmont because she could probably do a better business outside. And she told me that she does not wish to do so. So she's applying for the massage establishment license, and I'll let Ms. Kim explain a little bit more.
I've been business in Westmont 10 years. And I have to very off time because Walgreen move, and I have to move out, and I have a little boy, and I got cancer, and I can find the better location, and I don't want to too far to Westmont, and rent too high, and I can survive. So I try to do massage so I can help a little better to live. And I don't want to lose my business. I want to successful, so I can take care of 4 years old my boy.
Thank you.
If I could also as well, when in talking with her, she's explained that the nail salon is still going to be her primary business. She still wants to offer the massage services, but the massage services, correct me if I'm wrong, will not become the main portion of your business. The nail salon will. One practice we wish to establish, we have established, is that she did pass inspections, or did have inspections by the fire department and code enforcement officers 3 years ago. She's not made any major changes or any changes since that time. She just has not been offering the services. However, 3 years have passed, and I would like to have her be re-inspected again to make sure that there's no other issues before she gets the license. What we did wish to do is have her go and make changes coming from the board, and have the board decide not to increase the license. So now she would have incurred an additional expense that she, would lose money on. So we're going to, before the clerk's office will issue the license, she will have to pass the final inspections one more time just to make sure. Also, the massage establishment is there, her majority. I asked her this week again, how many customers are male? Because that's usually a concern. She has only one male customer. Again, the predominantly of her clientele are females.
Thank you, Chief. And I think in your packet, like Manager Searle said, you've got the recommendation both of the manager and the police chief. Do I have a motion?
Do you want us to make the motion with the final
recommendation
inspection
of
as
the
part of
police
it?
chief?
Or just accept the recommendation?
My thought on that is that an inspection is required by the ordinance already.
Anyway, so just make the motion.
Yeah.
Then I will make the motion to approve increasing the massage licenses by one for this wonderful lady right here.
And to grant the license.
And to grant the
Because that's your
license.
power also as the board.
Second.
Scott.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions?
If I could make a comment, if it does pass, ma'am, I don't know if you have an internet website that you advertise on, but if you don't, the village will have a mobile app, and you'll be able to get a free web page that will help advertise your business throughout the community. Throughout the community, cost you nothing. So look for that if this
Thank you.
goes in your favor.
So I guess I have some questions.
Oh, that's-
What kind of massage, is there a certain, I know that there's a lot of different therapeutical massages and stuff today. What are you going to be featuring there?
I just, I'm not too for just, I'm doing more layer. I'm just doing for some client I know the 10 years my client, and just ask him sometime for massage. I just want to do things. And I don't want to like a professional massage place. I don't want to do like a.
So will there be a licensed masseuse on premises?
Mhm.
And then would these massages be in a private room, or are they out in
Yes,
the open?
yes.
They're out in private rooms? And so is that going to be a change to your building there, that these will have to be
No,
built?
no.
These private rooms exist?
Yes.
And how many of those rooms is there?
2.
2?
But there are specifications in the ordinance that you passed about the rooms. I think there's no floor-to-ceiling walls.
The walls do not go over the ceiling, but I would have to estimate they're over 10 feet in height. They are not visible. All the activities would not be visible to the other customers. And John, if you wanted to address the issue of the occupants of 4 people or more?
Yeah, so there's one, I think, unisex bathroom facility in the premises already, and that would allow up to 4 people for massage service, including the masseuse and customers, total of 4. If they have more than 4, including the masseuse on the premises for massage services, they would have to add an additional bathroom and have a male and a female bathroom. The applicant was made aware of that orally and in writing, and there will be some customers there who are there just for nails. We don't count those when it comes to the bathroom requirement under the massage ordinance.
again, the rooms, she outfitted the rooms for the massage establishment license prior to, the ownership issue becoming to my attention. So the rooms are there. Deputy Chief Gunther and I have done site inspections. The fire department as well as code enforcement has as well too. I believe there was the plumbing and everything else is there, but again, I would like to have them re-inspected just to be sure. And again, one of the questions I think on the board need to consider is how this will affect the community. All the operations for the massage are to the back as you walk in. There's a waiting area, and then there's chairs for the nail salon and our nail business set up that way. The massage are to the back. They're not anywhere visible, even if you're standing on the sidewalk, you can't see.
Any
Good.
additional?
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Any
Thank you.
additional? Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
No.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
New business, D, Kurtz Ambulance. Board to consider an ordinance to approve a 1.8% cost increase per agreement to provide ambulance service between the Village of Westmont and Kurtz Paramedic Service Incorporated. Manager Searle.
The Village of Westmont, with ordinance number 13193, approved an extension to the term of the agreement with Kurtz Paramedic Service Incorporated, which included an additional option of 3 annual renewals in the amount not to exceed 3%. Kurtz is requesting an increase in 1.8% for the fiscal year 14-15 for a total annual cost of $946,371 or $78,864.25 per month. The chief is here to answer any questions.
Chief Weiss, floor is yours.
Thank you. As last year, the board approved the extension for an option for 3 more years, not to exceed 3%. In the past was not to exceed 4%, so that was a change that Kurtz made. And then with negotiating with the owner this year, Tom Vanna, we were able to lower that 3% to 1.8%. From our current year to next year was only a $17,000 increase, and it should have been about a $30,000 or $34,000 increase. So that was significant savings to us. And just want to add to that, the owner of Kurtz, Tom Vanna, did tell me that even though our contract's only going up 1.8%, he's going to give his employees a 2% pay increase. So I just want to pass that on.
So we're looking for an ordinance to approve the annual cost increase?
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second, Barker.
Motion is made and second to approve as presented. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Motion's been approved. A new business E, engineering agreement, 2014 spring MFT resurfacing project. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing an engineering agreement with SECO for material testing and inspection services for the 2014 motor fuel tax resurfacing project. Manager Searle.
This request is to approve the sum of $13,220 for testing and inspection services for the village's annual street resurfacing project. The services are provided by a qualified agency and is required by IDOT for projects utilizing motor fuel tax funds. The 2014 Spring MFT resurfacing project proposes to resurface approximately 5.5 miles of roadway along with other related work. The approval of the proposal for these inspection services, again, is for the 2014 Spring MFT project, and the official project number is 14-00000-01 GM.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Addington.
Motion moved and seconded. Any questions?
This is a technical question.
You almost missed it. Next time when I say no more, all right, go ahead.
Technical question for Steve.
Yes, sir.
Because part of the money we're using is motor fuel tax, and I understand that part of it, but would you want to, if you were to segregate out those parts of the project that wouldn't be covered by the motor fuel tax money, like a couple of the projects that are out there, you'd still want to do these inspections anyway?
Yes, right, it is not just required just because it's a motor fuel tax project. Certainly, they make sure we're getting the quality that we intend by contract. So if it was being paid for out of the general fund or any other means, we would arrange the same services.
What will they do? Will they do the little borings and?
There's a variety of things. The asphalt components, there is actually a lot of the work is done at the plant, and there's, they take the mix design, they actually test it, they calculate its theoretical maximum density, and then the contractor is required to achieve, I think it's 93% of that theoretical number. They have a device, it's called a nuclear density gauge, where they shoot radiation into the pavement, and they can measure how well the contractor's compacting it. The concrete, they'll make concrete cylinders in the field, let it cure with the rest of it, and take it back to the lab and bust them and determine how much pressure it took to do that. So those types of services.
Okay. Thank you.
Quality control.
Yeah. And like I said, you'd still want to do those, no
Definitely.
matter where the money was coming from. Yeah, okay. That's what I figured.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
New business F, bid proposal paving 2014 spring motor fuel tax resurfacing project. Board to consider an ordinance approving the bid and awarding the construction contract to James D. Fiala Paving Company Incorporated for the village's 2014 spring motor fuel tax resurfacing project. Number 14-00000-01 GM. Manager Searle.
Okay, on April 8th, the village accepted bid proposals from 6 contractors. As was mentioned, the low bidder was James Fiala Paving Company out of Bolingbrook. The low bid was $1,577,332.47. It's approximately 11% below the engineer's estimate of $1,769,086. The award of the bid to James Fiala for this, again, is for the spring MFT resurfacing project. They are a company we've done business with before. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you how many times, but they've done work here in the village a number of times.
Many times.
We've been satisfied with the
And again, it's 11% under the engineer's estimate.
11% under the engineer's
Do
estimate.
I have a motion to approve?
Motion Addington to approve.
Second, Scott.
Motion been made and seconded. On the question I have, the first thing I want to ask our Public Works Director, one of the most asked questions this past several weeks is, why isn't my street being
Yes.
done? Or when is my street being done? And I figured that this is, just to give a brief explanation of the process, would be helpful.
Certainly, I don't know about the brief part, but I will generalize, and then I'll go from questions there. We do have, we already know we're very far behind on our street resurfacing program, and the professional survey that we arrange that measures the quality of pavements across the entire town was done a couple years ago, and at that time, you learned we were very roughly 50% of our pavement that is in the village's jurisdiction is worthy of resurfacing. So that question comes up a lot with every project, but it has come up more so now because there is that extensive a list of streets, half the streets in town, we agree need to be resurfaced. So it's how are we picking, the order that we're proceeding. So when we have the size of the issue identified, that led to the soliciting of the bond, and we have $8.5 million to apply towards these streets. And for perspective, our largest resurfacing project was on the order of maybe $800,000 a year, and we're going to be doing 2 a year, and this first one is $1.6 million, so it is already double what we've already done, and that was picked to manage what we can do, with our existing staff and pay attention to it. So in the middle of the summer, and certainly by fall, we will have a second project this year as well until we expend the $8.5 million all on resurfacing. So the study I referred to is the first tool we use, and it's an objective mechanical study that measures features of the street, including cracks, rutting, how much it deflects under a load, and these streets are rated or ranked, if you will, and put in an order. So with that list, we start not at the bottom, because the bottom are the streets that are so bad off that they need to be reconstructed or rebuilt, dug up, thrown away, and start from scratch. This resurfacing project, this 3-year project that we're going to have, is addressing just it's a resurfacing, so it's just the surface, it's the top couple inches of the pavement, that's all that's being addressed with this. So the worst streets are not done because you would not put tens of thousands of dollars into fixing the surface if you're planning on digging it up in the near future. From there, you pick your list of streets, you get it as best as you can from the ones that are in the worst condition, and then other factors go into the decision-making to, making sure groupings are logical. There are some instances where you would remove a street from the list because if you're going to have a water main project on it in the next couple of years, you're also not going to spend a lot of money resurfacing it now. It'll still get done, in the 3-year period, but not necessarily this first phase. There are reasons you would move something up similarly too. There were roads that were waiting for a water main project that we just completed, for example, and then we would go into there. And then there are a lot more factors, not a lot more, but there are many that go into this, and it is all about putting together the respective packages that get the best value, the best return on investment for each project. Because if I'll just one example, and I'll exaggerate. If you're doing 19 streets and they're all south of 67th Street, and you have one cul-de-sac up in Oakwood that's on the list, you would not add that to this project because it would ruin the prices for the entire project. So that was exaggerating, but that's the types of things that go into the thought. And then we come up with this list, and we don't forecast out past the project that we're doing, and that's how we got to this. And you're all aware, because I'm trying to share with you in most of it the repeated question about how can my street not be the worst one in town? And we're not disagreeing with the condition, it's just this is the best arrangement for this first project.
And how many miles of streets do we have in town?
In town, we have about 60.
And when this is all said and done, the 3-year, how many miles of road will we resurface, roughly?
Well, roughly 30. It was very close to
About half.
50%, right.
Okay.
Do we have a list, Steve, of the roads that need complete replacement? I know it's
Yes,
ever
you take the
changing.
zoning map and you have a 50-50 chance,
You mean the replacement?
Oh, for the reconstruction, we
Yeah,
do.
for the reconstruction.
So
that's-
you have,
That was good.
yeah, I'm sorry for my answer. That was a very good question.
you
Two
were
of them that you
listening.
know about is Wilmette and Cumner. Those are being rebuilt, and Spencer tonight mentioned about the green infrastructure component that's going with that. You have also hired a consultant to look at 4 different neighborhoods with respect to green infrastructure improvements too. And one of those areas is the northeast, and those streets are really bad too, and those show up here on for resurfacing, but they're under study for potentially to be under reconstruction. So they would be intentionally removed pending the advice that we get from that study too. So, you know, we do have a list. We have the ones that we know from this study. It's already a couple years old, so last winter has really changed the complexity of everything that's out there now. It really got beat up over the winter, and we will have a new list when these other studies are done.
That'd be a year.
It would be, they would be very expensive projects, so the study will be, you know, in a few months.
Yeah.
And you'll have the planning tool to do the budget for next year.
Right. And in the meantime, you know, the people are living on those streets and they're
Yes,
in bad
it's-
condition. So if we had, obviously identify them as number one, and then a plan to repair them.
Yes.
Okay. And hopefully the
And then
calls go
from
down.
3 years from now, well, actually, we'll have to adapt, you know, each year, as we already do, but the list will change, and actually, when we get close to the end of this big resurfacing project, would be the time to bring that inspection service back in and look at the whole village again and rank the whole town, and make sure that we have a resurfacing project each year after that. Maybe not this big, but that we continue to do this every year.
And I just thought it was important because I've seen, I think the trustees have seen the various emails, and everybody feels that, you know, and we have a number of streets, but I thought it was important that at least Steve gives an explanation of how we proceed with this. Additional question?
I'm just glad we can be aggressive at this, because it's,
Very exciting.
well, it's gonna be a long road. It's gonna be a long road.
Pun intended, yeah.
A 30-mile long road.
30-mile long road, but we're able, because of the bonds, we're able to be aggressive and maybe get some results quicker.
Well, I think Steve said our biggest project is 800,000. We're doing almost 1.6 now. So this is double the size of any project we've done.
And that's just the first one this year.
First one out of.
The first half.
Yeah, and there's going to be basically 6 of these.
Just a clarification on James E. Fiala. Over the last couple of years, that's changed ownership. And Steve, I know we've talked about this earlier in the year, but 55th Street, which was not our project, you know, was not a smooth project by any means. And I think that they were almost 14 months wrapping up their punch list. How are we going to assure, again, I know that wasn't our project, but how are we going to assure that they run this up to our standards? I guess the low bid concerns me, especially when it comes in under the engineering forecast.
They might be under new ownership, but it is primarily the same people we do with it. In fact, even though you haven't quite awarded it yet, we've already had the pre-construction meeting, and we've met with the same people that we're familiar with and will be on site. 55th Street, and in fact, it is still under punch list. It is still not complete. It is a little, what we're doing is what we would call a simple resurfacing. It is big construction, but it's your limits are confined. You're not widening new roads. You're not doing intersection improvements, and the complexity of that project was really a different extent. And as far as paying attention to the contractor, the work is simpler, and we do not, other than the laboratory work, we don't have engineering consultant. We don't have services for that monitoring, and we actually do that in-house. We've talked a lot before about engineering and how much we contract out. This is an example of a project that we do in-house, and Noriel will be in the field with them 95% of the time that they're working.
Again, just concerned because, again,
Sure.
as you say, now that road's almost going on 2.5 years old, and they still haven't completed their punch list, and now we're hiring them to do work in the town. I don't know. I mean, I don't know personally that we would necessarily do that if they didn't complete the first project in accordance. So again, just a concern over the contractor.
Okay.
There is a performance bond they'd have to post, which could be pulled in the event of a default. We'd have to declare them in default for non-performance of things like punch list items, et cetera, if it ever were to come to that. I don't know street resurfacing, whether you typically have a long list of punch list items.
No, and I would further add, but in a simplified way, is that all the issues going on 55th Street aren't necessarily contractor performance issues. It's the design, the management, and the policies of the agency, you know, managing that too. So
Was
a lot of it
was
is,
part of 55th Street, though, was also full reconstruction, wasn't it?
the intersections were widened and
Yeah.
a lot of.
Which is a whole different thing than resurfacing.
Yes.
Steve, and again, how many bidders do we have?
6 bidders.
Six bidders, and I know even though it's 11% under, we've experienced, and through the years with municipal, when you hit them at the right time, you hit them beginning of season, you get competitive bidders. This is a great bid, and I'm not scared of being 11% under, because I've seen that before. People want the work, and it's a big enough project.
That and, better to come in 11, 20% under than it is to be 1% over, because then there's no understanding that, how that was miscalculated. So you try and be conservative when you do the estimate. You hope your estimate is in the middle of the bid package of all the bidders, and this one was. And secondly, another part I didn't mention with the description, when you're bidding the first projects in the season, you don't have a feel for what the asphalt prices are, and they are driven really closely to oil prices, because the bituminous product, it is an oil product. And, the tar in the asphalt concrete is driven by that. And, the estimate you pick in fall when you put this together and you go out to bid in February could be totally different.
So great, thank you. I think with the performance bonds and Noriel
That helps.
supervising it, I think it's a much different situation than the county. So again, just wanted to clarify those items, so thank you.
Any additional questions?
No, let's get it approved.
I
and
think
get
everybody's
moving.
kind of, excited to get this going. We'll
Yeah.
approve.
Soon as
Can
next
I
week.
have a roll call, please?
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
New business G, Comcast agreement. Board to consider an ordinance approving a contract with Comcast for the 100 meg Metro Ethernet circuit for a 5-year term. Manager Searle.
Okay, this contract will replace our current 10 meg circuit that we have with EXO Communications, as well as a 100 meg circuit that we have with Comcast cable modem. And this is something that I know our IT director, if you have any very specific detailed questions, is here and can answer, but I know he's done extensive research on pricing this out, and is confident that, for the value of the speed that we're getting, that this is a good price for this particular service.
And we'll save the village money in the long run, right? As I think Keith said.
Yeah. Do I have a motion?
Motion Addington to approve.
Second, Nero.
Motion made and seconded. Any trustee questions? We'll let Clerk Simpson-
Just one thing, how does this benefit the residents? They're hearing they're hearing numbers, but what's the benefit?
Here comes Glenn. Did you hear the question, Glenn?
Yes.
Yes.
So the circuit is strictly for internal communications, the way we connect out to the internet. So it will increase our access to the data that we use in the cloud for like Google Docs, especially for police and fire. The communications pipe right now is that 10 meg circuit, and we're bottlenecked at that 10 meg. So this will open it up to 100 meg, both uploading and downloading.
Good, thank you.
I'm glad to get our megs updated personally.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott. Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Motion passed. New business H, Community Stormwater Management Ad Hoc Committee. Board to consider an ordinance to dissolve the Community Stormwater Management Ad Hoc Committee. Manager Searle.
At this time, the Management Ad Hoc Committee has achieved its goals, and it was created to accomplish. The Village of Westmont would like to thank the residents for their commitment to the project. As you know, we have a stakeholders group that has been formed, and they have met already. And I believe many of those folks are involved in that as well. So this body will be replaced in essence by that stakeholders group as we move forward with the study that they recommend.
And again, the committee's very much aware of this, and they're in favor of forming that other ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
So is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Parker.
Second, Nero.
Motion been made and seconded to dissolve the Stormwater Committee, and the question.
I just want to thank all the members that were on there. I mean, we put a lot of time into it. We learned a lot. It was very informative, and I think a lot of the folks are going to the stakeholders group. So it's going to be that's going to be a good group too to take us to the next level. So again, just personal thanks to everybody for putting their time into it. It was well attended, and it was a lot of work. So thanks.
And for you to chair it. So,
You bet.
Thank you, Steve, for doing it. Good to echo those comments, because this isn't the end of stormwater management
No.
detention. It is just moving into a different phase with the stakeholders group and the stormwater
Stakeholders.
utility feasibility.
yes. Seeing no other questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Business I, Illinois Risk Management Agency Delegate. Board to consider resolution to appoint Human Resource Director Kathy Crane as a delegate to the Illinois Risk Management Agency. Manager Cyril.
As the board knows, we're members of two fairly large self-insurance pools, IRMA, which was mentioned, Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency. The other one, IPBC, which is really more technically a cooperative, but these are governed bodies by the member communities, and the form of that government involves a delegate and an alternate that regularly attends board meetings and represents the respective villages and, in some cases, other governmental entities that belong to them. And we vote on policy matters. And it's been some time since we've made any changes in terms of who's assigned to which pool. I've been assigned to the IRMA pool for a number of years as the delegate. And in discussions with both Spencer and our HR director, Kathy Crane, recently, we decided to change that up a bit. I'm going to be the new delegate to the medical benefits pool, and she is going to be the delegate to the IRMA risk management pool, which will be a new opportunity for her to gain some experience in a different area, and an opportunity for me to move back into an area where I haven't been heavily involved in a while, and I'd like to kind of get myself more involved in again.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Should we just make the motion for Kathy, or should we also reaffirm?
It's not on the
Not
agenda.
agenda, just,
Yeah,
right?
all you have to
Oh,
do
okay.
is pass the resolution.
Just Kathy? Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve, Barry.
Second, Nero.
Motion been made and seconded. On the question, I think trustee Addington, we might have to put that in a future agenda if we want to approve, or do we need to approve you?
I don't, well, that was my question. I didn't know if we needed to or not.
No, actually, yeah, I guess IPBC, and that tells you how it's been a while since I've been away from it, but they don't require a formal resolution by their governing bodies any longer. So I've already technically been approved by just notifying them that I'm the delegate. But IRMA, which is a much bigger pool, a little more formally structured, does require a resolution. So.
Okay, any additional questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
All right, does Kathy know she's
Yeah.
on this agenda? She does now. She's not here tonight, so. All right. Usually you get stuck with something when you're not at a meeting. So miscellaneous.
I just want one thing. I just want to thank the board for their support for the 61st Street Pond beautification program. I know
Are we still going to do some of that ourselves?
we can. I'm sure we can maybe watch the contractor do it, but so we don't mess it up. This is just as easy as planting a little plant, but there's a lot of work that I put into it, going around door to door. So I know all the residents in that area are really appreciative of it. And after 4 years of cleaning it out with the River Suite, I can honestly say there's no need to do it this year. That's why I'm not doing it this year, is because we're going to be putting a lot of work into the plant. So again, thanks to everybody. It's awesome to be able to see something like that happen.
Yeah. And this, I think, is a good first step into the green initiative and some of the other things that have been talked about and you're doing. I think the people in town are going to see a lot of these kinds of things over the next couple of years, and I think it is going to be extremely positive.
Yeah.
Things we should do. I have one other question. And that is, since we're meeting earlier during the summer months so that we can go look at old cars, what would you like us to do? Almost every one of us probably will have, or all 6 of us will have a committee meeting scheduled during those 3 months. Do you want us to see if they can be put off? Do you want us to schedule it for another night?
My personal opinion would be, if at all possible, to do it earlier that evening.
Okay.
But if a trustee who is chairing that committee is unable to attend, then I would push it to another evening. So if.
So for, like we did tonight with Finance and
Yes.
Administration, if we could like do it at 4:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll publish it that way, everybody's welcome to come, but if we feel that there's a couple trustees or someone who's chairing a committee cannot attend, then they can reschedule.
Okay.
Steve, quickly. I was wondering if you could update the residents on what's going to happen on Cass Avenue. It looks like they're getting ready to resurface, and it looks like there'll be some directional changes and so forth coming up very soon, it looks like.
That is, you awarded the resurfacing contract, and you see how fast they were out there. But they are setting up, anticipating the award tonight. All the road construction ahead signs are up. Cass Avenue is one of the higher attention locations because of the physical volume of traffic on it. And together with them, and to make sure that moves very quickly in anticipation of the luge event that is also scheduled in another month or so. We have to stay ahead of that, and that's actually driving the critical path of the entire project is that location. So the road will always stay open as they work in different lanes, and it's wagon train type construction, and they'll constantly be moving traffic over temporary markings. It'll be difficult, being our only way to cross the tracks. Each rush hour will be congested. One of the special provisions in the contract is to stay off the road during certain critical rush hour periods. I think it's like till 9 a.m. before they can start in there as far as blocking traffic and things like that. So they are very excited to get started, and we are making them start on Cass Avenue to stay ahead of that other schedule.
I assume that striping will follow after the repaving shortly
Yes,
thereafter.
although I was thinking, the pavement markings actually are a little lip, so I was like, it might be nice to leave that just temporary tape for a little while until our event is done.
Great. Thank you for the update, Steve.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, then go into executive session, and since there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase of real property for the use of the village.
So moved, Addington.
No more fake property.
Second, Nero.
This is real. Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session for the purchase of real property. Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
And I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and after the executive session, there will not be any additional business. So again, this meeting is adjourned.